Americans have been brainwashed into believing that white men are bad. They've come to think that ethnic minorities deserve to replace them. Tonight, with clear evidence, we show that's not true. Watch as an Asian attempts to fill in for Joshua White Man Slocum. But whether Caucasian or just regular Asian, when it comes to Cluster B, the plot is always the same, and so are the outcomes. We'll be looking through a slant-eyed lens to blur the lines between tragedy and comedy. Because if you don't laugh, you might kill yourself. You don't know the host, but you do know the stories. Tonight on Disaffected. Most people don't reflect. In my mom's case, she didn't have that ability. There was no reverse gear built into her mechanism. There was only ever adding and accumulating. Other than blood and body weight, she did not shed anything. Even when she broke my dad's back under the weight of her expectations, there were still 2 kids who she could try to whip to drag her to Happy Land, a place she imagined where she'd won the American dream of making all the other Asian women jealous. Envious. Fortunately, when my dad died, she was ostracized from her Asian women friends. My sister said that other Asian women were wary she'd try to steal their husbands away. Until nature taught her how to subtract and began to remove people out of her life, my mom could put on one hell of a show. There were many gears she could switch into, reverse not being one of them. She could win over teachers by flashing a wide beaming smile. She could burst into tears if pleading in front of an officer. She could act stupid and dumb and play into the Asian, no speak a good English facade. There were many skills she had. There was no limit to what she was willing to do to get what she wanted. And there was no limit to her dissatisfaction. I'm so glad she's dead. One less Mao Zedong in the world's population. One less prison guard. One less vampire. The worst thing is that nobody believes you when you tell them any of this. I stopped trying to get my point across to people I grew up with. They'd swear I was making it all up, these endless and quite bizarre stories of being raised Asian. Until one day, a stunned longtime buddy of mine I'd known since 7th grade slept over on the couch. We'd been drinking, I was going to catch a flight the next day, and my sister said she'd drive me to the airport. She knocks on my door to wake me up. I go to use her printer to get my ticket, and she starts slamming the laptop down on my fingers, saying I should have been more prepared. Printer jams. I go to clear it. She starts chewing on my knuckles like a rabid animal. I used to work a punching bag until my skin was gone, so I ignore her. Then she kicks me in the balls, so I swat her away with one arm. I get the ticket printing, and my mom shows up in the doorway, saying I don't deserve to leave. I'm too irresponsible. They have no idea that my friend has stayed the night, and he's now behind them in the doorway. Hey man, I lock eyes with him. You want to drive me to the airport? Yeah, let's go. For about 20 minutes, he's in stunned silence. I had no idea you were telling the truth. I used to party with your sister. I had no idea she was like that. Yeah, nobody believes you when you're telling the truth, and it's this weird. See, the family looked good on paper. As puppets, we were trained to really put on a show for the outside world. And thinking about it, that may have been the only time my mom got caught pulling the strings. Good evening. I'm Scott Kim, filling in for Joshua Slocum tonight. It's May 24th, 2026, and you're watching Disaffected, the show that looks at politics, culture, and relationships through a psychological lens. I'm here to share with you some of my own family stories of growing up in a home with a Korean Cluster B mother. Welcome to Asian Trauma Story Hour. Shijak, let's begin. When you grow up in such an extreme way, it's hard for other people to relate to you. I'd be accused by Lyft drivers trying to make small talk, asking where I'm from, what my family does. Oh, they're all dead. It's just a bummer, not only not having had a childhood, not fitting in when growing up, but still not fitting in to this day. And these days, there's just not a lot of capacity in the world anymore for things that aren't mass-produced, pre-processed, and easily digestible. Everyone's brainwashed and lazy. And now that inflation is skyrocketing and everything's automatically 18 bucks no matter what, everyone wants to just not think about things, to be comfortable. So when I would raise a glass and toast my mom's death on her birthday, and someone would find that offensive and try to fight me on it, they had no idea how horrible she was. Not every mom is a saint. Some are monsters. Some are gorgons. She was Medea. We're brainwashed to repeat that girls are sugar and spice and everything nice, that we should believe all women, but some, like my mom, take advantage of that sentiment. They know how to put on a show. In my household, my sister could pull out a pair of scissors and hover them 1 inch away from my eye, and when I kick her in the ribs to get her away, I'm the one who gets yelled at. When my mom would be in a screamy mood and yell at my dad at the dinner table, he was the one who'd get stabbed in the forearm with a fork. It was all just outrageous. And I see it all the time. Men who are abused by women who keep sticking around at the complete disregard of their own experience. Happy wife, happy life. Unhappy wife, and men are gaslit to keep smiling. Through the gash in their forearm, through the humiliation. We pretend it's all right. It's all part of the show we're required to go along with. It's all in the script. I look back, and in my dad, I don't see a strong provider as much as I see an enabler. If my mom didn't have a reverse gear, you could say my dad didn't have an e-brake either. There are a lot of secrets in the family, and I'm not a slave to keeping them anymore. My great-grandparents owned slaves. I don't give a shit. My uncle didn't call or write after his brother's suicide. I don't give a shit. I didn't go to my mom's funeral. I don't give a shit. My family was not invited to our other uncle's funeral. I don't give a shit. I was uninvited from my cousin's wedding. I don't give a shit. If I'm so detached from the people in my current family tree, and if I'm the last of the bloodline, then it doesn't really matter what came before me, what I'm surrounded by now, or where it's heading. I have nothing to gain and nothing to lose anymore. I have no family. I won't be starting one of my own. I'm 40. I view the rest of this life as a prison sentence, not because I'm unmarried, don't have a mortgage, or have very many possessions, but because I'm surrounded by prisoners. Honest, well-meaning people whose minds and capabilities are held back because they're chained to the ball of fundamental assumptions. Man bad, woman good. Look at Al Bundy, Homer Simpson, the stupid male tropes from TV we're programmed with. I didn't have a choice in wearing the umbilical chain that attached me to my mother. I've been a prisoner to her expectations, and even when I'd succeed in meeting them, as ungodly as they were, I was still only ever just a model prisoner. It was a life sentence, and now that she's dead, it's finally over. I'm able to see, think, and speak for myself now, to work hard at what I believe is worth fighting for. In my case, that's art. So now that I have no one, it's not over. The yelling and screaming and fighting is, but there's just a lot of emotional and psychological unpacking still left to do. Come back on the other side of the break for more Asian trauma.
You got B plus in 4 core? B plus! You lazy, no good, I work hard, you fail me. No more games, study now.
Miso Traumatized.
You got B plus in 4 core? B plus in 4 core?
If you need personalized attention to your situation, you can book some one-on-one time with Joshua Slocum. Go to his website, joshuaslocum.net, and check out his calendar. He offers 1-hour video or phone if you prefer, consultations and coaching sessions. They're private and confidential. It's not mental health therapy, but he does talk about some of the same things that you would in therapy. And if he can be helpful to you in sorting out your situation, give you an outsider or third party, he's not going to promise you complete objectivity, but he can give you the perspective of an outsider looking in at your situation and seeing what it looks like to someone who has experience with these conversations. That could be helpful to you. He'd love to talk to you. It doesn't have to be super serious either. If you just want to talk about issues that come up on the show, or talk about politics or cultural issues that concern you, but that you can't actually talk about with your loved ones, he is available for that as well. So again, visit joshuaslocum.net. She couldn't let things go. Small remarks from friends, our report cards, old wooden shutters from other people's trash she'd swear were antiques, which would later rot in our yard and have to be thrown away. She was in the hospital, and I was dog sitting when I found our other old dog's cremation box, just gathering dust in the wine cupboard. It had been over 10 years, so I thought, all right, Jellybean, let's give you a proper funeral. When my mom got out, I'd mentioned that I'd buried the dog. I didn't say you could do that. Go dig him up. Now at this point, I didn't remember where it was, so I start having to dig holes in her garden until I hit pay dirt. Got him. I wash off the mud and gray water kind of drizzles out the bottom. Okay, so I set him on the deck and kind of drip dry him, and then I bring him into the kitchen. Where's Buffy? Our other dead dog, who's been dead for several years as well. Now at this point, I can't remember if I buried one dog or two, so I debate buying an empty plastic box and throwing some chicken bones in there, but like Jellybean, the idea is forgotten, and he later gets thrown away in the trash once my mom died. It's all just exhausting. I think of the stress, the yelling, the threats of violence forcing us to perform to our nervous system's limits, and then some. I can recall crying myself to sleep as I hear my mother threatening to chop my sister's head off with a knife in the other room. I have one in the kitchen. Do you want me to get it? No, Mommy, no! See, all that for some stupid trophies, some printed out Scholastic Achievement Awards, maybe some temporary applause from parents in the crowd waiting for their kid's turn to shine. It just doesn't make sense. It's just so much stress and energy wasted in life. We never really lived. We only performed. We were never people, just golden children. Trophies to gather dust in the cupboard for her to spit shine with abuse when she needed to take us out. We weren't really taught to socialize, just compete. To this day, I have few friendships that could withstand the learning curve for me to acclimate to a human condition. I regret not enlisting in the military and doing secret missions like my dad. I sometimes wish I would have just died in combat or, from a PTSD honorable gunshot wound. It would have been much faster and easier than dying to the many identities I've had to put on and have tried wearing for many years, trying to see which fit me best. If I'm not my mom's favorite, who was I? Was it the successful business owner, the martial artist, pseudo bodybuilder, maybe the crystal magic hippie healer? See, when you don't know how to stop performing, you've got no way to appreciate what's real in others. I've wasted relationships and money trying to find the truth. Now that I'm a little closer, I look back and it's the lost loves that keep me up at night, and the lost money that weighs heavily on my mind during the day. And then I remember that no one really knew me since I didn't know myself. And with that in mind, if the cost of knowing myself was everything, then it's all been worth it to throw away. But either way, as society continues to shift around me, I see interconnection as the foundation of life moving forward. If I was operating out of a false identity before, requiring external things, people, conditional applause, then I would be just another vampire, and the generational pattern would be repeated in my own life, with my own wife, in the house I could have bought. So yeah, I definitely threw it all away. Burned it all gloriously to the ground and buried the ashes in the backyard, which I'm now digging up for you tonight. Come back after the break for a story about being one of the dream kids and how therapy saved my life and then tried to shut me up. Be right back.
Disaffected is sponsored by and its host is powered by BiltongUSA.com, where you can get the finest cured meat I have ever had. If you haven't tried biltong before, you need to try it today. It's not like any beef jerky you've had. It's actual whole slices of beef, very thinly sliced, vinegar and spice cured in the South African style, and the stuff is delicious. As I always do, I had a plate of it with cheddar cheese during my break for the show to keep me going. No carbohydrates, high quality animal fat, high quality animal protein, and it tastes wonderful. Bring it into your house. Your friends will fight you for it. Your husband will fight you for it. Your dogs and cats will fight you for it because it's that good. Check them out at BiltongUSA.com. And remember, when you order, use promo code JOSH to tell them that I sent you, and also to get 10% off your order at BiltongUSA.com.
My mom was a tiny woman, an Asian woman, and even more so when she died. She withered down to roughly 78 pounds or so, with a condition doctors called failure to thrive, which is funny because Fs weren't allowed in our household. Straight A's were the floor. I got a B+ once and was summarily grounded. And this forced me to confine myself to the role of teacher's pet, to kowtow to authority. The teachers were management, and my mom was the CEO in a startup called Scott's Life. My dad was the angel investor funding the whole venture until he killed himself with a shotgun blast to the face. I was about 16, and through that hole in the roof of his head came a sliver of light, an opening I would later recognize as freedom, because now I had space to crawl away and get high. And while my mom was busy dealing with the paperwork and all the associated material and legal consequences of such an action, I could finally go unmanaged. So I started a band, got to be creative until I finally finished high school. I rebelled eventually by going to a state school, and not any of the Ivy Leagues we'd visit on our family vacations. Her vision of me being a doctor, however, never left. As her health would spike up and down like my gambling portfolio, she'd wind up on the hospital bed to milk a slowly evaporating portfolio of sympathy, using her intentionally pathetic, blood-lost state to plead with me to be a doctor, a PT, hell, even a chiropractor. They have letters behind their name. But I remembered the hell of living for her hopes and dreams and would shake my head, no, disgusting, ew, get a grip. She never did. And shortly before she was no longer allowed to work, I got a call from one of her coworkers' children. Chuckling, she said, "Hey Scott, weird question. You're not a doctor, right?" No. "And your sister, she's not a lawyer, right?" I was like, "What? No, why?" "Don't take this the wrong way, but apparently your mom's been telling her coworkers how successful her kids are." "Yeah, nope, still not a doctor, never will be." We could never be the children of her dreams, so she went ahead and dreamt some up to brag about.
Miso Traumatized. Miso Traumatized.
Hello, welcome to news segment portion of show. It's me, your host, Scott's Asian Half.
And me, your other host, White Scott. Annyeonghaseyo.
Annyeonghaseyo to you too, Scott. This segment just in. Unruly school children in America's school system. Teachers quitting in droves, hit by the pain of parental American neglect. Now, there seems to be a spectrum of Asian versus anyone else between how to raise a child. And that leads to two kinds of outcomes. News or seppuku versus gun violence. So what we want is something between here and here. And then you get either doctor or McDonald's worker.
But you need teachers in schools to function to make that happen.
Oh, that's right, Scott. So here's where we are, and here's where we're going. We're going to commit kamikaze on America's school system if we don't change.
So what do you suggest we do?
Here's what we do, Scott. Duty police officer, and that's not working. So what we do instead is deploy Asian moms into households of worst performing students. Let them haunt their bedrooms.
Get out of this bed right now! I'm going!
Put them in backpacks, bring with them to school.
You be doctor, right now! Get to school, hurry up!
And then they smash kids' belongings if that doesn't work. Then they'll be playing piano in no time.
That's what happened to you?
Oh yes. Plenty of times I'd come home and my books would be in a trash can of water. My video games thrown away. I mean, if she can kill your pet hamster, any of your things are fair game.
Did you say she killed your pet hamster? What?
Ah, yes. Lexington was his name.
I fondly remember that hamster. He was in his rolling ball and got out and chewed on some of my mom's Korean furniture.
Give him to me, she said. No, you'll kill him.
That's right, I'm going to kill him. So I handed him over and went off to my room crying. A knock on the door.
Hey Scott, come here,
My sister says giddily.
Is Lexington alive? Come here.
And so I followed her behind the garage. And there, frozen in a sort of last action hero pose, Lexington, sealed in a kimchi jar, his little yellow teeth out, dead as he gasped for breath.
Watch this.
My sister kicks the jar and he topples, flop, flop.
You try. No, just try it.
So I did. Kicked the kimchi jar and kerflunk, he flops.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yes, I say through the tears, kind of laugh, crying.
Miso Traumatized.
I was on a hike with the therapist who saved my life. Now, this family had taken me under their wing from when I was about 18 to about 35. It was a therapist couple, two of them, who taught me to grieve. I had no idea, believe it or not, that I had grown up in a pressure cooker. And their hippie ways taught me about the inner child, about healthy anger, and all the things Mr. Rogers was talking about. I do credit them with keeping me from killing myself in my 20s. But by the end, when I got pushback for mentioning that men were under attack in our society, I got hit with the shadow side of all that hippie love and magic. You see, broken people who learn to reflect are open-minded and typically are more compassionate. The story we're told is that minorities and women are victims of the system. But if I'm not allowed to point out that in my case, it was my father, a white guy, and my sister who were abused by my ethnic mother's system of control, manipulation, and violence, then that sure does leave quite a bit of a blind spot in the narrative that a lot of people don't want to address. And they actively get mad at you when you raise a glass to celebrate the fall of that regime. Now, I'm not a champion of anything. I think pretty much only individuals exist. I think that by the time you throw a label on a friend group and create a tribe or an ism, then you're already fucked. But if it helps you to survive, great, do it. But if you outgrow the comfort and warmth of an illogical rage, perhaps you too can be soothed by the cool loneliness of nothing and no one to call family. I was given guidance. I was taught discipline. We were trained to succeed in every challenge. We weren't given a choice, but I'm grateful for that now as an adult. You see, as adults, we aren't really given a choice in much. Most of our votes don't matter. Whether or not data cities get built or not, or if AI takes our jobs, or if our businesses get shut down in a pandemic. You see, that's not conspiracy, that's life. We are all trauma bonded together in this world, like it or not. Now, the beautiful thing about being raised Asian without a choice is that it forces you to become familiar with being made fun of for being different, to see the ignorance of the world at large, to view the world through your strange and slant-eyed lens as it tells you you don't belong and shows you never will. As a half Asian, most Asians don't even recognize me as one of their own. But I was at a cigar bar once, smoking with a full Korean. And when I mentioned to him later that my mother's Korean, he exclaimed, "You're Korean? I work at blank wine store. Ask for me and I'll get you a discount." Then he slides me his card. Then I think to myself, how much racism have I been missing out on? As a minority on paper, I've been able to get job offers that my white self wouldn't. So yeah, you're damn right I've milked some of that. So, as a half Asian, many white people have invited me to their friends groups, and then they get to feel inclusive and fight the system when I bring rice noodles to the potluck. Now, speaking of food, it isn't dog meat, but it's still delicious nonetheless, and that's biltong, a delicious vinegar-cured jerky from South Africa, and you should be sure to try it. In addition to being made with quality ingredients, they're also a quality sponsor of the show. So be sure to check out biltongusa.com. And for those who have written Josh for his sourdough starters, he wanted me to tell you that he's received your letters, he sends his thanks and appreciates and wants to apologize again for the delay. He will be sending those out to you shortly. He also wants to apologize for sending you with this Asian fill-in. He hopes you guys can understand him through this. Additionally, R.I.P. Shredder, R.I.P. Lexington, and to all of the pets in our disaffected family that we have loved and lost along the way. So, at 40, I don't have a wife, don't have kids, but I do have Scoby, or Lexington 2 as I call her. It's a small hamster, and she serves as a reminder that even though life can be cruel, we can learn from the past and can still grow. That inside the shadow of the past exists the seed and possibility of a bright future. The sort of yang to the yin and vice versa. So, let's honor the past, pay respects when necessary, and as you see fit, because this is your life too, and you have every right to see, think, and express it as you choose. Thank you, and good night. Thanks for having me on your show tonight. It's been an honor to share some of my stories. If you enjoyed this kind of content, feel free to follow along at Tramedian.com, where trauma meets comedy. Tramedian. Fucked up stories for fucked up people.